Hey, Facebook faithful, and hey to my YouTube subscribers. This is kind of every week it's a joint broadcast for both, because ultimately my Facebook Live broadcast will be shared with my YouTube subscribers, and so I'm just coming back real briefly today. I know that it's Valentine's Day and folks have stuff to do this evening, so I don't want to belabor the point. And for those of you who can't tune in live, you'll get a chance to take a look at this later at your leisure. But I wanted to address something because, listen, you know, that YouTube group, they're a rowdy bunch, and there's a whole lot of folks. Like, I knew yesterday's Facebook Live was going to wind up with some hurt butts, if you will. And sure enough, I know what I know, and so we got some hurt butts, y'all. So let me address something. I normally don't engage and entertain trolls, Russian bots, folks who are silhouettes, and I don't even know if you're a real person, don't even know if you are a black person. We know through things that we've seen on social media that there are people who pretend to be black and who have a lot to say about black issues in an attempt to divide us and to cause consternation in our community, if you will. And so I get that. But every now and again, someone sparks my competitive edge, and so I accept your challenge. I want to address those who think that I am victim blaming Willie McCoy. Willie McCoy is the young man that I talked about on yesterday who was shot and killed in a drive-thru. And obviously I don't know. Family doesn't know because they weren't there, whether or not he was asleep or whether he was slumped over, unconscious. The fact of the matter is that a young man is dead. Some mother has lost her son. A sibling has lost a brother. And so I don't blame Willie McCoy for having been shot and killed by those 6 police officers. I do question the reasonableness of a black man, woman, or child having a gun given the time that we live in. And so while I mentioned that, you know, maybe it's not a good idea for black men to carry guns, I'm not advocating one way or the other. One way or the other. You guys are grown. Do what you want. I'm just telling you that we have enough examples of what can happen to us when we think or we assert the same rights, if you will, as white folks. I've often said that great deference is given to a police officer, and what a police officer says generally stands, and we see that to be true because we see very few convictions, and when there are convictions of police officers who engage in the use of deadly force as a first resort rather than a last resort, as we're taught, we see juries who agree with the officers, who side with the officers, who empathize with the officers. We see that. And so my only point is that wouldn't it make more sense to have a conversation with your loved one and say, I want you here for Easter and Christmas and Mother's Day? And so if you do certain things and the police engage you, you may find yourself the victim of great bodily harm and or death. Wouldn't it make sense to want your loved one to survive that police encounter? That's my only point in mentioning what I mentioned, and I will attest and acknowledge that many police shootings, in my opinion, are the result of poor tactics. And by that, civilian folks, what I mean is all of the things that police officers do leading up to the moment when they actually discharge a weapon. Sometimes the tactics that officers use could have been something different. They could have held back and waited a little bit longer. They could have verbalized with the person, and we don't see that happening. We don't see it happening with black folks. We see them cuddling and hugging white killers to jail each and every day. We see them taking them to McDonald's to get burgers after mass shootings. I get that. But my point is, let us put us in the best position possible to try to avoid being the victim of an errant officer. I say what I say based on I've been in a uniform for a couple of minutes and I know what I know. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to even do what I suggest. Do you? In the words of my president, number 44, proceed, Governor. If not complying with an officer's direction, if not right or wrong, but if not complying with an officer's orders makes sense to you, if carrying a gun when you're not legally allowed to carry, but you know your rights, or carrying a gun because you have the right to carry a gun, you could be subjected to deadly police force. And so if that works for you, sir, ma'am, whoever you are, that has great issue with what it is that I'm saying, then listen, carry your gun. Don't comply. I'm talking to the folks who want to live. I'm talking to the folks who don't necessarily want to die and make their family the next millionaire, because the police department and the city will pay your family after they kill you. You'll be gone. Your family will be fine. So if you want to take one for the team and you want to make that sacrifice, proceed, Governor. But don't accuse me of doing something, victim blaming, which is not what I did on yesterday. And for those of you who want to know who I am and want to know, I bet she never turned in any bad cops, or I bet she stood by and watched white officers beat up black folks. If you want to know who I am, I'm a public figure. My record is out there. Do your homework. Don't be a sheeple. Google me. To quote someone that I'm not going to name, Google me. Or better yet, if you really want to know my record, if you really want to know whether or not I've ever spoken out previous to you finding out about me, because I'm not new to the game, but now that you know I exist, let me help you over to Amazon.com, where you can purchase my autobiography, Black and Blue, The Creation of a Social Advocate. And you can read all about me and what I've done and what I've stood for and what I mean to the community. So I just wanted to come on and just kind of try to set the record straight as best I can. And I understand that, you can't please everybody. And that's why I kind of jokingly always say your agreement is not required, because really and truly it's not. I don't say any of what I say because I want you to agree with me. I'm just telling you what you already know and what you see happening on a national level. I'm corroborating that. And I'm telling you that this is how police departments get down. They're aggressive, they're excessive, and then they mitigate that bad behavior. And so my acknowledging and saying that, yes, police officers will kill a black man if they see him with a gun in a way that they won't a white man, that doesn't mean that I'm victim blaming. It doesn't mean that I'm shaming anyone. I'm just saying that this is what we see. And so listen, before you come to me with a complaint about something that I said, as you complain, also, please do give me 2 solutions, 2 things that you think might make it better. Because obviously, based on your experience as a police officer, you seem to know more about this work than I do. So if you don't like my suggestions, you don't have to accept them. But I needed to address it because somewhere out there is family of this young man. And I don't want anyone to misconstrue my statements. And I would hate for a family member, I would hate for his mom, to get word that there was a black woman out there shaming her son, who's no longer here, because that's not what I did. That's not what I ever do. And so for those of you who still want to unhear what you heard me say, or you want to interpret it in a way that works for your situation, then by all means you'll do that. I wish you well. And listen, if you want to unsubscribe or you don't want to follow me anymore, you don't need to announce it to me, dude. Just go. I never understood that thing about social media when people are unfriended you. They tell you, I'm going to unfriend you. I had someone say to me on YouTube, I will proudly unsubscribe. Proceed, Governor. Just go. Just go. Because what I'm saying probably isn't for you anyway, sir, ma'am, or bot, whatever you are. So if you don't agree with what I say, that's why they have McDonald's across the street from Wendy's and Jack in the Box around the corner, because there's so many other places that you can go to get information that you might find helpful if what I'm saying to you is not. So on that note, Facebook faithful, YouTube subscribers, happy Valentine's Day. Have a great evening, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. Facebook Live at 5. Happy Valentine's Day, Linda. Thank you for tuning in tonight and humoring me. I appreciate you and everyone else who stopped by to hear what I had to say. As always, do share this with your friends because, misinformation is a terrible thing to spread. And so I want people to get it right. Share this on your timeline with your friend. Hey, Cheryl Niles, I appreciate you, sis. Share it on your timeline with your friends. Tell a friend. And for those of you who might be new and tuning in for the first time, I do this every Wednesday, live at 5 on Facebook, 5 p.m. Pacific. And for more about what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I'm saying, subscribe, like, listen to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks on YouTube, my Sergeant Dorsey Speaks podcast, and visit my website, www.sergeantcheryldorsey.com. Have a great night, you guys. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.